I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing something like this, but honestly, I feel like I have to get it off my chest. My name's David, and I've been with my wife, Emily, for about 5 years now. At first, everything seemed perfect. She was smart, funny, a little bitchy sometimes, but I loved her. We had a routine, a pretty good life. I work as a graphic designer, she's a marketing exec, and we live in a decent apartment in the city. No kids, no big drama, just two normal people trying to make it work. But lately, I'd started noticing little things. Maybe it's just me overthinking, but Emily's been acting weird. She's more secretive with her phone, quick to lie about where she's been or who she's with. At first, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. You know how it is. You think, maybe she's just tired or stressed at work, or maybe she's hiding something innocent. But then I started noticing her schedule didn't add up anymore, and that's when the gut feeling kicked in hard. It all started with her loyalty card from the coffee shop. Yeah, the damn local place I used to go to every morning. It's a small, cozy spot, and I loved their coffee. I'd usually swing by on my way to work and chat with the owner, Jack. Nice guy, always had a smile on his face, and I don't think I ever saw him without a coffee in his hand. Anyway, I noticed Emily's loyalty card was being used way more often than I thought she'd be going there. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe she was just grabbing coffee for her team, or saying she was out for a quick break. But then I happened to check the timestamps on her card, and that's when I realized something was off. The time she claimed to be at work or running errands didn't match the card swipes. Tell me she was working late or at a client meeting, but the loyalty card showed she was in that coffee shop at odd hours, like late evening or during times she said she was at home alone. The worst part, the timestamps weren't just a little off, they were way out of sync. Sometimes she'd say she was home, but the card showed her at the coffee shop, or vice versa. I started putting it together. She was lying, and not just little white lies, big ones. I caught her in a lie about her work emergency, and I looked at her phone, saw messages from Jack, the owner of the coffee shop. Nothing explicit, but enough to tell me there was something more going on. I felt my stomach drop. My wife, my partner, was sneaking around with the guy I'd always trusted, Jack. I knew Jack, he's got a reputation as a nice guy, maybe a little flirty, but I never thought he'd cheat with my wife. I didn't confront her right away. I just sat there trying to process what I'd found. It felt like my world was crumbling. All the little things, her secret phone, her late-night absences, the way she'd get defensive when I asked questions, suddenly made so much sense. She's been lying to my face for months. And the worst part, I didn't even want to believe it at first. I kept telling myself maybe I was paranoid, maybe I was overreacting. But then the evidence was staring me right in the face, and I couldn't deny it anymore. So I finally decided I couldn't keep pretending. I didn't know. I needed to confront her, had to know the truth straight from her mouth, or at least try to get some clarity. That night I waited until she was in the shower planning my move. My hands were trembling, but I knew I had to do it. I sat her down in the living room, tried to keep my voice steady, and asked her about her whereabouts, about her loyalty card, about Jack. Her reaction? Oh, it was classic Emily, mouth twisting, eye rolling, the whole "you're crazy, you're overthinking" act. She looked me dead in the eyes and told me I was misunderstanding, that Jack was just a friend, that she'd only been going there for her morning coffee and maybe a quick chat. She threw in some bullshit about how I was paranoid, that I didn't trust her, that I was imagining things. She even had the nerve to say I was insecure for suspecting her. That honestly made me more furious than anything else. But I wasn't buying it. I had the evidence, and I pressed her harder. I pulled out the loyalty card printouts, showed her the timestamps and how they didn't match her stories. Her face turned red, her voice got snippy, and she started with the typical denials and accusations, calling me obsessive, insecure, jealous. She said Jack was just a friend, and I was just overreacting because I'm insecure about my own shortcomings. That's when I realized she was just trying to gaslight me, trying to make me doubt my own instincts. The thing is, I'd loved her, I really did. But seeing her lie like that so effortlessly, it cut deep. I felt this strange mixture of anger, sadness, and a profound sense of betrayal. I mean, I knew she was bitchy and manipulative sometimes, but I didn't think she'd be capable of lying outright, especially about something as serious as that. I felt like I was losing my mind for a moment, like my whole sense of reality was shattering. I remember sitting there, staring at her as she kept throwing excuses, trying to justify her actions. Her voice was high-pitched, annoyed, like I was the one causing the problem. I could see the contempt in her eyes, like I was just an obstacle she had to deal with. She kept saying, "It's just sex, it's not a big deal. And you're making a mountain out of a molehill," like I was just supposed to accept that she'd been sneaking around behind my back with Jack of all people. I felt something inside me harden like I'd snapped out of the haze. I realized I wasn't going to accept being lied to anymore. But here, where it gets complicated. After she finally ran out of excuses, I was left staring at her, feeling this enormous weight of disappointment and rage. I knew I had to decide what to do next. Do I forgive her? Do I kick her out? Do I confront Jack? I wasn't ready for any of it immediately, but I knew this wasn't going to be swept under the rug. Not anymore. I felt this burning need for justice, even if that meant breaking everything apart. That's when I started thinking about my options, and honestly, my mind started racing with plans I'd never thought I'd have to consider. In the days that followed, everything felt like a blur. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. The betrayal hit me hard, more than I expected. I kept replaying that night, her words, her lies, every time I thought about Jack, about her sneaking around behind my back. I felt this surge of anger that I couldn't quite control. I wasn't just hurt, I was furious. How dare she think she could get away with this? How could she treat me like I was some idiot who wouldn't notice? At first, I thought about confronting Jack directly. I wanted to see if I could catch him in the act, maybe even get some sort of confession. But I knew that might backfire, and honestly, I wasn't sure I was ready for that confrontation. Instead, I decided to dig further. I started looking into her phone, her messages, anything that could give me more clues. That's when I found something that made my blood run cold. A string of texts between her and Jack, packed with flirtatious comments, plans to meet up, some downright explicit stuff. She told him she hated her marriage, that she was unhappy, that she was just using me for stability or whatever excuse she came up with. And the worst part, she'd been lying about the entire thing. I saw her telling Jack she was free tonight, loved the idea, and even saying she'd make it worth his while. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just a one-time thing. It had been going on for weeks, maybe longer. She'd been stringing me along, lying so effortlessly I started questioning everything about myself. Was I just blind before? Was I so wrapped up in our routine that I missed all the signs? The whole time, I was just a placeholder for her while she was out screwing Jack. I started to feel this strange mixture of heartbreak and rage. I wanted to scream, to break something. I felt betrayed on every level, by her lies, by her manipulation, and by the fact that I had loved her, trusted her. I couldn't believe I'd been so stupid, so naive. I kept thinking about how she always said she loved me, how she'd always been loyal, and now I saw the truth. She hadn't just cheated, she'd been planning it, conspiring behind my back. That night I called her. I wanted to hear her voice, to confront her one last time. She picked up and her voice was sharp, dismissive. I told her I knew everything, about the texts, the loyalty card, her lies. She tried to deny it at first, then got defensive, then downright bitchy. Said I was overreacting, that I was jealous, that I was imagining things. She called me insecure and said I was just paranoid because I don't give her enough attention. I couldn't believe how she was spinning it, like I was the crazy one for catching her in the act. For a moment, I wondered if I should just forgive her, forget it all, and move on. Part of me wanted that, wanted to pretend it never happened. But the other, louder part knew I couldn't do that. I deserved better than to be lied to and cheated on. I knew I'd have to decide what I was going to do next, whether to fight for this marriage, to walk away, or to do something more drastic. The feeling of betrayal was too raw, too real. I realized that the only way forward was to face everything head-on, even if it meant shattering what little stability I thought I had left. The days after that call were the worst of my life. I felt like I was walking around in a fog, constantly replaying everything. In my head, the betrayal cut deeper than I thought it would. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. Every time I looked at her, I saw her lies, her sneering face, the way she thought she could get away with it all. I'd catch myself staring at her, just seething inside, trying not to explode. I didn't know what to do, whether to confront her again or to just pack my shit and walk away. I was so damn angry, but underneath all that was sadness, a deep ache that I couldn't shake. One evening, I decided I had to see her again, had to say something face to face. I waited until she was in the bedroom, pretending to be calm. When she saw me, her eyes flickered with annoyance, like I was bothering her. I looked at her dead in the eyes and told her I knew everything. I wanted her to admit it, to see her squirm, and to understand just how badly she had betrayed me. Her reaction was unexpected. She scoffed, rolled her eyes, and told me I was being dramatic, that I didn't have proof, that I was just being paranoid. I pulled out my phone and showed her the texts, the timestamps, everything. Her face twisted into a sneer and she tried to brush it off, saying it was all innocent, just a flirtation, that Jack was just a friend, and that I was overreacting again. She called me insecure, said I was controlling, and that I was making a big deal out of nothing. That's when I saw her real colors, the bitchy, manipulative side that I'd ignored for years. I realized she'd been lying to my face all along, using me, cheating on me, and throwing it all in my face like I was nothing. I felt this surge of rage I couldn't contain. I'd loved her, trusted her, and she'd taken everything from me with her lies. I snapped. I told her I was done, that I wanted her gone, that I wasn't going to stay in a marriage where I was just a fool being played. She started shouting, calling me crazy, saying I was overreacting, that I was just jealous because she was better looking or some stupid shit. Honestly, I didn't care about her insults anymore. All I cared about was making her see I knew the truth, and that she couldn't lie her way out of it this time. That night, I started planning what to do next. Part of me wanted to confront Jack, wanted to see if he'd admit anything. Part of me just wanted to pack up and leave, cut her out of my life completely. But mostly I just felt numb, like I was watching my life fall apart and there was nothing I could do to stop it. I knew I had lost a part of myself in all this, my trust, my respect, my sense of stability. But I also knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I had to decide whether I was going to fight for my dignity or give her the satisfaction of winning by walking away. That's when I made up my mind. This was the beginning of my revenge, and I wasn't going to back down. After that night, I knew I had to act. Staying silent or pretending everything was okay wasn't an option anymore. I started building my plan, not just to confront her again, but to really make her feel what she's done. I didn't want to just pack my bags and go. No, I wanted her to see that she couldn't keep lying, cheating, and sneering at me like I was just some fool. I needed to make her regret it, in a way she'd never forget. First, I decided to gather more evidence. I stayed up late, meticulously going through her phone, her emails, her social media, anything that could give me leverage. I found more texts between her and Jack, some photos that were taken during their secret meetings, and even a few sneaky receipts from the coffee shop. She'd been meeting Jack at night, sometimes during her supposed girls' nights out, and I could tell she'd been sneaking around for weeks. I felt a sick satisfaction knowing I was finally catching her in her own web of lies. Meanwhile, I started thinking about how to handle her. I knew she'd be bitchy, dismissive, and probably try to turn the tables on me. So I stayed calm. I waited for the perfect moment to confront her, not just to expose her, but to make her feel cornered, vulnerable. One afternoon, she came home early from work, looking annoyed, already sensing something was off. I decided it was time. I pulled her into the bedroom, showed her the evidence I'd collected, and told her I knew everything. The texts, the meetings, her lies, her reaction. The usual sneer, the rolling eyes, the "you're crazy, this isn't what it looks like." But I cut her off. I told her I wasn't interested in her bullshit anymore, that I knew she was sleeping with Jack, that she'd been lying to my face for months. Her face paled a little, and she tried to deny it, but I could see the cracks in her facade. I told her I wanted her to leave, told her I was done pretending I didn't know. She flipped out, started screaming, calling me controlling, paranoid, insecure. She threw some cheap shots, calling me boring and predictable, like she was trying to make me feel small. Honestly, I didn't care. I just wanted her gone. That night, I knew I had to do something more than just throw her out. I wanted her to feel the pain she'd caused me. So I devised a little plan. It was petty, maybe, but I wanted her to see what she lost. I started by secretly changing the locks, making sure she'd be locked out if she tried. Come back. I also contacted Jack, told him I knew about their affair, and gave him a choice. Either he talks to her and ends it, or I'd go public. I knew Jack's reputation wasn't spotless, and I wanted him to understand there'd be consequences if he continued to betray me. Meanwhile, I made my own life more about myself. I started hitting the gym, focusing on my career, reconnecting with friends I'd neglected. I realized I'd been so caught up in our routine that I'd lost myself a little. Now I was reclaiming what I could. I knew this wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my dignity. I wanted her to see that her lies, her cheating, and her bitchy attitude weren't going to control me anymore. That was the turning point. I was tired of being the victim, and I was ready to take back my life. The final blow came when I decided to confront her one last time, not just about the cheating, but about everything. Her lies, her manipulations, her bitchy attitude that she thought could get her out of anything. I wanted her to understand that I wasn't going to be the fool anymore, that I was done playing her game. I called her over to the apartment, told her to bring her shit and to leave for good. She showed up with that arrogant smirk, like she thought she'd still manipulate her way out of it. As soon as she stepped inside, I told her everything I'd uncovered, showed her the evidence, read some of the texts aloud. Her face twisted into a mixture of anger and panic. She tried to deny everything, but I was done listening. I told her I knew she'd been cheating on me with Jack, that I knew she'd been lying for months, and that I was sick of her lying, her sneering, her bitchy attitude that she used to walk all over me. I told her she was a liar, a manipulator, and that I was sick of her attitude. Her response: she got defensive, started crying, trying to play the victim. She told me I was overreacting, that I was trying to ruin her, that it was all just sex, and that I was jealous and insecure. But I wasn't having it anymore. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her she was done, that she'd lost me because of her lies and her cheating. I told her to get her shit and leave and to never come back. She left that night, yelling and calling me names, but I was finally free. The house felt emptier, colder somehow, like I'd lost a part of myself I'd been clinging to for too long. But at the same time, I felt a strange sense of relief. I no longer had to pretend she was innocent, no longer had to hide my feelings or act like everything was fine. I finally saw her for what she was, a manipulative, dishonest woman who thought she could get away with anything. Looking back, I realize I learned a lot from this mess. I learned trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to repair. I learned that sometimes you have to take a stand, even if it's painful. And I learned that revenge isn't about hurting her, but about reclaiming your own dignity. I don't regret what I did. If anything, I wish I'd seen sooner, not let myself be played so long. Now I focus on myself. I'm rebuilding my life, learning to trust again, and reminding myself that I deserve honesty and respect. My advice: don't ignore the red flags. If someone's lying and sneaking around, don't wait too long to confront it. And if you're betrayed, don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Your happiness and dignity are worth more than any relationship built on lies.